I just got some of the best marketing advice to win in the AI era. Most brands have trouble cutting through the noise because they try to sound smart broadly. My guest today, Shaun Kanary, says don't try to sound smart broadly.
Authority comes from being known specifically for something small, right? So don't think of it as a niche. Think of it as becoming an expert at something, that you can be passionate about, that you can be known for specifically.
See, it's when you have a point of view that turns some people off, that is when you will have the other side.
The brands that are going to dominate the AI era isn't going to be the people that are producing the most content. It's the people that are going to be producing the strongest content. Because that's what's going to win trust in those ecosystems. That's what's going to get you topical authority.
In the zero-click environment, brands are upset that they lost half their traffic, but when Shaun goes in to do an SEO audit, he finds that the traffic was for keywords that had nothing to do with their business in the first place.
You fooled Google for a long time, but guess what? We live in the world of AI now where you're not going to get away with not being genuine, with not having topical authority built in what you do.
So if you want to dominate in the SEO era of today and tomorrow, get specific on your point of view, have a perspective, and don't be afraid to go deep. I'm Austin Willman, and this is Eat Coffee with Experts. Well, let's kick off there. Being a college professor and being VP of SEO, SEM, growth marketing at Kuno Creative, you must have real life experience and the sort of research background. I'm curious what you are teaching right now in this super fast, digital marketing world.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. First, let me give you the background. I wish I could say that I was all noble as far as the reasons why I got into becoming a professor, into the teaching. I wanted to make an impact on the world. I wanted to, teach, impart wisdom. No, it was actually for free Chipotle burritos and discounts on Adobe software with that edu email. So yeah, maybe we'll say it was for nobility, teaching generations and stuff like that I got into teaching. But yeah, now Chipotle burritos mostly. So we got that going. But it's interesting because I would say at the beginning of this school year, I started to see a change in special way that professors and especially the secondary schools and the way that we were looking at AI. And it was always a fear-based look before this year, except for me. I've always been a proponent of AI is fantastic, and it's a co-pilot. It's a tool that we can leverage as strategists and marketers to help us do our jobs better and quicker. But, coming into this year, before this year, a lot of professors are looking at it as an enemy. And, I think that's just from a pure, not knowing exactly how to implement it as far as their lesson plan or, hey, listen, we're going to have students that use it and take advantage of it. Thankfully, the students that do use it and do use it to do their work, it's really easy to spot.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, well, Shaun, how do you spot people that use AI to do all their homework? Well, usually the students that are good use it as like a supplement or a way to enhance theirs. And the students that are lazy and just wanted to do the work never remove that silly little sentence at the end of it saying, would you like me to do this next? Or would you like me to phrase this another way? So that's the dead, no complicated software that analyzes whether it's human or AI. They just forget to remove the follow-up prompt, and they
just scroll to the bottom. Yeah.
But this will be the first year that I've openly and a lot of other professors have openly put it in our curriculum guidelines of we expect you to use AI, and we're going to teach it in every chapter that we use of how to leverage AI to make your output even better. So I think we're in a new age, especially, in teaching at the university level. Hey, this is how you're going to use it as a supplement to what you're already doing. In fact, just thinking of it like, I teach advertising management, so I'm always having it I'm always recommending as far as proofreading. I'm always recommending it as far as like once you identify your ICP or your segment or your persona, act as somebody in that persona and react to this ad idea that I would have.
Mm.
And social media, again, putting that ICP or persona in there and then asking them to comment or look at posts from social media and say, is this engaging? Would you engage with this as a
Mm.
member of an ICP? So using it as almost kind of a research tool or a segment or ICP, persona is usually the way that I'm leveraging it in my marketing classes.
Mm.
And then, unfortunately, I still teach a business communications class. So and I say unfortunately because students nowadays, and I don't want to lump every student into it, but usually they're in that 18 to 20-year-old, and they use this as their tool. So when they write, they're all, acronyms or, emoji based. And it's
Mhm.
kind of crazy that they'll be writing a paper. And, when I went to school, it was the APA manual.
Yeah.
Now I'm teaching like in business communications. Hey, send it through AI and have it make suggestions, like an
Mm.
additional Grammarly, if you will, of how
Mhm.
you could sound more professional with it. So
Mm.
we're teaching those type of strategies of how to implement, how to use AI to supplement what you're doing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Act as Professor Shaun and recommend suggestions that would give me an A.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
that's what I
But
would do.
that's the beauty of Sean because he's a human and unpredictable. So no AI will
Mm.
ever be able to replicate me. Too
Mm.
unpredictable, man.
Mm,
Too
mm, mm.
unpredictable.
There's a separate conversation to be had. There's a show on
There
Netflix
is.
called Mindhunter.
Okay.
Mindhunter. I
Yep.
mean, it's completely unrelated to marketing, but they're basically like tracing serial killers for the first time, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this could be the same person," and they're like understanding that the randomness can actually be predicted, and
Okay.
so that's
Okay. Well,
really
maybe
interesting.
maybe AI will learn me. Okay. There you go.
Interesting. So embracing I would imagine then you're starting to see, more professors at the university level start to work hand in hand with this instead of fighting it and
Yep.
combating it as a adversary. I would imagine that has tunes of the same, conversation when you're talking with clients on the agency side. I would imagine that clients come to you and say, "Why do we need an agency? We pretty much have AI that can do everything to us. Make your case." And then you have to step in and say, "What?"
Yeah, absolutely. You should be using AI to do
Mm,
simple tasks, simple marketing tasks, replicable marketing tasks that you have to do on a continual basis. So when people come to us and say that, I say good because we're going to teach you how to use AI in a way to supplement what you're doing and to learn from it and to really provide more of a value than just simple tasks.
mm,
If you use AI just to make a graphic or write a blog article or do something that, you would pay an agency to do, you're using agencies wrong.
mm,
Agencies should be used for a strategic, their strategic mindset and how they
mm,
approach your market. Really, that's where the value in a good agency comes in. Is one, understanding who you are as an organization and and a company, really making suggestions on how to grow, right? Where you're at and how to grow. And every client is completely different. So you
mm,
really need that strategic mindset as far as to kind of audit or assess where you're at as an organization and then put into place how to use AI to get beyond that. That's what we're really good at. Like,
mm.
yeah, I mean, Kuno Creative and other agencies from like 2010, yeah, they were knocking out blog articles and writing your social media posts and stuff like that. But any ad agency that's out there, they're probably using AI to do a lot of that for their clients that just don't have time.
Mhm.
And marketing and companies should be using AI to help them write posts and stuff like that. They shouldn't be using just an agency to do those type of tasks. But the agencies that you do hire, they need to help you strategically implement AI to help you grow as an organization.
Mm. Yeah, I feel like when I talk to my normie friends who are not in the marketing world and they're not, behind their computer for 12 hours a day, they're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, isn't AI like Chat GPT?" Or it can be they think of basically GPT, image creation, or automation.
yeah,
And from what you said, it's all of those, but there's more that you're using it for. What really stuck out to me is to be the ICP, as you were
yeah.
mentioning to your university students. Do you use something similar to inside of Kuno Creative, where you're kind of cross testing or like checking your sort of output against maybe like a lookalike audience, or how are you using AI to like kind of test the performance before you actually launch a campaign?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways. So we're creating agencies within ChatGPT or within Claude or even within the CRM itself. That's
Hmm,
preferable way. Is a lot of
hmm,
our clients use HubSpot as far as
mhm,
their CRM and marketing automation and sales automation tool. And really within there, you can create agencies within there to create those ICPs, to have those audiences and leverage the first party data within inside your CRM and your business tech stack. And
mhm,
once you combine AI with your tech stack, your operational tech stack, is not only acting as that those individual ICPs, but it's
mhm,
taking that first party data and actually taking that into consideration too. That's really the power of AI. When we're talking
mm,
about how to implement AI, your normie friends, as we would say, they're thinking, "Oh, I'm going to make a graduation photo or a graduation announcement for my kid." Right? That's not
uh-huh,
AI. That you're not using AI. Using
yeah,
AI is really to dive deep into your first party data, dive deep into your ICPs, and really use it as a way to better understand how to position yourself and how to make that customer experience 100 times better. And that's how you grow as a company. That's how you leverage AI to
mm,
grow as it's almost you're evolving from channel execution to an AI market system design. That's when you're cooking with gas. And that's
mm,
what your agency should be helping you do. I mean,
yeah,
you can get one of your normie friends to make you an infographic when they're done with their kid's graduation announcement.
you're right.
That's what agencies should be doing, marketing agencies. Yeah.
Mm. So this first party data concept has been coming up more and more because that is seemingly the moat. When AI
Yeah.
makes all skills and whatever, I'm sure you've downloaded the Corey Haynes skill pack from GitHub,
Yep.
like everybody else did, when it
Yep.
came out. But if AI makes all skills commoditized, really the moat is the first party data, understanding the trends, the patterns, and then making decisions that other people may not have found because one, maybe they don't have the data, but two, we've never had the technology before to look as deep
To
and to find
analyze that
these
data.
obscure patterns. Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, things that and listen, to be human is to have errors. I mean, at the end of the day, humans can't pick up on the small little minute details we were talking about before the show started. You're getting married. I've been married for 20 years. And my favorite joke is Nate Bargatze when he's talking about his wife, and his wife says, you never listen to me. And he's like, we've been married for 20 years. You're telling me I'm over? I haven't heard one thing. I mean, I do miss a lot of things that my wife will say, and she will say that, and you will miss a lot too. And that's why
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry and you're right is always in that
Yeah.
holster as far as the go-to.
Right.
But AI won't miss it. Like,
Mm.
I can't I'm sitting on $1 million idea. So instead of Chat GPT or Claude, I'm gonna develop Husband AI. And it's going to
Mm.
be on your phone. We just leave it on at all times. And it's going to send us shocks and it's going to tell us, hey, this is what your wife just said. Say this back. So yeah, that's what AI is doing. It's
Yeah.
listening for those small details. It's going, hey, listen, she's laying down signals that she just got a haircut. You didn't pick up on it, but
Mm,
AI doesn't miss those things. So all those first party data points that your CRM, whether it's Salesforce or HubSpot or whatever it is, that it's
mm,
picking up all those first party data signals, web pages that it's gone to, the time in between, things that we can't even comprehend has a pattern. AI
mhm,
does it and does it so quickly.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
So there's two. I guess there's two things. A couple things. I listen to Alex Hormozy a lot, and when
Mhm.
he holds his workshops, he says you if you have a problem in the business, whether it's resource constrained or whether it's demand constrained, if it is demand constrained, I can't remember what it was, but there's either you do more, better, or another thing. So if you're looking at the business and you're seeing AI and you're recognizing all of the things that it can do, what's your first, I guess, what's your first feeling if you're seeing a constraint or a bottleneck in one of your clients? Are you using AI to do more? Are you using it to do better? Or are you using it to do different, let's say?
Yeah, yeah, really, you kinda have to you kinda have to if you see constraints, right?
Mm,
You don't necessarily interpret those as negative, right?
mm,
Constraints can sometimes become, you know, boundaries for optimization, indicators of risk, um,
mm,
and they can also show systems signals of, like, operational friction, right?
mm,
So let's say, like, for instance, if we're looking at budget and we're looking at constraints when it comes to budget, we don't necessarily sometimes view that as negative, right? We sometimes say, okay, this is a good way to set up priorities, right?
mm,
Prioritization. So budget constraints aren't necessarily a bad thing. So when we're
mm,
looking at if AI see constraints, we can't necessarily interpret them with a client or an organization as a negative because we can
mm,
see opportunities from those constraints, opportunities for differentiation, right?
mm.
We can some of the best innovation comes from pressure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it really is. When things are unlimited, that's when I get scared because
Mm.
strategy can get lazy, and that's when you risk falling. Constraints are actually a good thing. So
Mm.
they force you to make better decisions, and that's how I look at them. So when AI finds constraints, I actually look at that as, hey, listen, I'm going to be the hero of this story, and I'm going to take these constraints and make these into opportunities.
Hey, we hope you're enjoying the coffee and the conversation so far. This show is powered by Digital Web Solutions, and if you've ever wondered how the biggest brands actually build authority, this is it. DWS has a massive network of over 250,000 publishers, real sites that help you rank on Google and, more importantly, stay visible in AI search. It's the heavy lifting most teams just can't do on their own. As a thank you for listening, they're offering an exclusive free strategy call just for our eCoffee listeners. It's a great way to map out your authority plan for 2026. Just click the link below to book yours and see how they can help scale your brand. All right, now let's get back to the show. Man, I love that reframe. Speaking of constraints, I mean, something that SEOs have had to deal with forever and ever and ever are all the core updates, all the spam updates. Google seems to put out, something every couple months now.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was like an update in October, December, and then there was just a recent one. But there was something that I think it was Lily Ray posted about, which has to do with link exchanges or backlinkings or something. Tell me a little bit about how you perceive or how you approach off-page signals in the post AI world or in the AI world today.
Yeah. And it is kind of funny when you talk about anything to do with Google and algorithms. I'm going to take this point right now. Everybody at Google, I love you. I never, because you never know if it's listening or not, and I just wanna
Yeah,
say I
right.
love you, and, that's it is kind of funny when I do talk about SEO with and I have a good rapport with somebody, from the beginning, they know I'm you kinda easygoing, and they say, "Well, tell us about your SEO strategy," and I say, "Well, usually we knock over the head a sacrifice, some sort of sacrifice, climb the mountain Google and then throw the sacrifice into the volcano and try to appease the Google gods. So
Right.
really that's our strategy. But
Yeah.
when yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's that's the secret. Just
That's it. That's it.
sacrifice to the Google gods.
Yeah, yeah. You have to get this sacrificial lamb. Luckily, you're in Ohio, so it shouldn't be that hard to come by.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's hilarious.
it's one of those things, but directionally Lily is right, right? But
Yeah. Mm,
sometimes our industry still oversimplifies what link building means, especially
uh,
now in the AI area, right?
mm,
It is not easy, right?
yeah.
It's a difficult thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, you know, Traditional SEO, right? The conversations typically when it comes to link building is, authority is going to be passed through backlinks, rankings are going to improve, and traffic is going to increase from a result. I mean, at the heart of link building, that's still true, right? That's
Mm,
still true to a certain regard. But AI's completely changed the world with more off page signals, as
mhm,
Lily was pointing out, right? Ranking authority has shifted to trust validation, right?
mm,
And that is huge. It's a huge shift. It's a huge different way of thinking when it comes to link building, right?
yeah.
Most AI systems don't give a rat's butt if,
Yeah.
what your authority is.
Mm,
It cares about things like corroboration, right? Entity confidence, right? Reputation, right?
mhm,
All those
mhm,
all those people talking about positive signals as far as like good reviews and Reddit threads that are positive. Guess what? Those are important now, right? Trust. There's a lot of signals, right? And
mm,
now the ecosystem's gotten even built, bigger. There's mentions without links that AI is taking into
mhm,
consideration. So, we're always thinking about, make sure that we got a good backlink if you're going to mention, right? Now it's looking at like it's processing so much data. It's
mm,
looking at mentions even without links, right? It's
mhm,
looking at your executives and their thought leadership. So when we talk
mhm,
about LinkedIn and making sure that your executives are on LinkedIn and not just using the marketing system that you have to post automatically when a blog is, but actually having some actual thought, right?
yeah, yeah,
We're having a wonderful conversation on this podcast, and the AIO section and the AI for Google is recording everything I say about how wonderful Google is and
uh-huh.
how I love Google so much. That counts, right? That
Yeah,
counts
yeah,
to
that counts.
AI.
That
Yes,
counts.
I'm going to push my sacrifice up the mountain here shortly. Reddit discussions, LinkedIn engagement,
Yeah,
PR. My wife is in PR and I we went to school together, undergrad, and she was in PR and I was in marketing. And the best way that I can describe PR is she taught me the definition that was easy for me to understand is to protect and promote. And
mm,
now as AI is stepping into SEO, that's huge. So PR
mm,
visibility, protecting and promoting your brand is huge, right?
mm,
And then cross platform consistency. Obviously,
mm,
we live in a fragmented world. Making sure that not only are you on different platforms, but you're active and you're trustworthy on those different platforms. These are why some brands dominate
mhm,
backlinks and SEO as far as when it comes to AI overviews and AI, and AEO, right?
mm,
AI is looking at all these things.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I look at it the way that the big evolution is happening when it comes to backlinks and this is what I keep telling people when we have this conversation is old SEO asked how many authoritative sites are you linked to?
mm,
That's not the way to look at it anymore. The new model is does the broader ecosystem consistently recognize you and your brand as a
yeah,
trustworthy expert on this topic?
yeah.
That's a much broader discussion, isn't that? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
so
I
companies
mean,
that are into backlinking now, they it's such a specialty thing that you have to move with an expert in that industry.
yeah, 100% agree. I mean, what you're saying about trust is taking semantic relevance. I mean, a $10 word that I learned a couple weeks ago at SEO Week, the conference. It seemed to be like every other presenter was talking about semantic relevance and consistency across
Mhm.
channels and just like anywhere where you're
Yeah.
talked about on the web, like uh how organized around a certain cluster of meaning is your brand. And it
Yeah.
seems like the more tightly packed, the more signal that sends to an AI. We've heard that AI is extremely smart, but it's also extremely lazy, like many
Yeah.
of the geniuses of all time, right? um,
Yeah.
but they're looking for they don't want to be wrong, so they're hedging their bets, hedging risk. And
Yep.
a good way to do that is to be talked about contextually in positive light by many sources who are also perceived as credible to AI.
Correct.
So yeah,
Correct.
I mean, I completely agree. It's not just about backlinking. That's why I mentioned it's
Mhm.
the off page signals that encapsulate the backlinking aspect, but there's so much more to it now. You started to talk about other platforms like Reddit and LinkedIn, and you just mentioned with your executive team posting thought leadership on LinkedIn. How are you approaching that at Kuno Creative? Is it an internal initiative where you're encouraging folks to do it? Are they on their own? How would you?
Yes. So the way that we're doing it, and our COO is leading the charge, and our CEO, Brian Rush, fantastic individual, fantastic human being, and just overall good person, a good trustworthy person. And the way that we're doing it is we're letting her lean into what she's passionate about, right? And and I think that's where you start that discussion with your executive team is to bring that authenticity, right?
Mm,
There's a reason why they got into this industry. There's a reason why they got into this wonderful world of marketing or whatever industry you're in. And to have that authentic conversation and be your authentic self, and that's when it starts to flow naturally. Brianne is very passionate about young females getting into more executive type of position, leadership types of positions. So
mm,
she has a podcast. She's writing a book. She's published on a regular basis, and she's really posting those things as far as what leaders do in marketing from an aspect of from a female perspective. And it's something she's passionate about. And
mm,
something that is really coming through is that authentic, that genuine, that real person that AI is seeing,
mm,
and that expertise as a person in that. And also too, with that comes engagement, right?
mm,
When your COO or CEO is being authentically transparent and true to themselves and talking about something passionate, they're going to get engagement and they're going to engage back, right? And that's going to yield brand recognition as a result. So what we tell our C-suite is like, listen, you have something to say. You got into this business for a reason.
mm,
Let that passion, let that purpose come out
mm,
in the channels that you participate in. And don't participate in channels that you don't want to participate in. But again, you're professional. This is what we'd like to see you do. So
mm.
usually when we talk to them about that, and that's what usually comes out. And I think you'll see that with our CEO, Brianne Rush. She does a fantastic job. And I love her posts, and I love reading her thoughts and stuff. And I'm not just saying that because she's my boss, but, yeah, that helps. It's kinda like the pushing up the Google mountain, but yeah, there you go.
Mount Rush.
There you go, Mount Rush.
Mount
Yep.
Rushmore. Yeah. But with like along those same lines, posting thought leadership content is one for the entity of the individual because it's coming from their own personal account. But
Mhm.
also, AI sees the association to the
Yeah.
entity as a business, as a corporate
Yep.
business. And as long as whatever they're passionate about is not like, making sweaters out of, dog wool or something,
Yeah,
like,
or
as long
yeah.
as it's somewhat related, I'm sure it adds then to that cluster or the entity cluster,
Sure.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because AI can make that connection, whereas the old SEO, it was like, "Hey, make sure that you post something about, hey, add a backlink back to our website and
Mhm.
post something like how much you enjoyed this latest blog post or
Yeah.
something like that." that's where it was really inauthentic and stuff, stuff like that. And yeah, no dog wool for me, but I do love that lady that watches people do those cooking videos. Is everybody's creative. I do love that lady. So I don't know if she's too influential for her business, but I love that. So
Yeah. Yeah, she's an influencer in her own realm,
that's
in her
right.
own space, yeah.
And just remember,
Yeah.
if it ain't cheesy, it won't slide down easy. So that's her
Is that from
motto.
her?
That's from her.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh, that's
absolutely.
hilarious. Wow. As we, Sean, as we wrap up, kind of get towards the end of the conversation,
Mhm.
I'm curious if a new client comes on, I'm sure you do some sort of an audit. You're
Yeah.
breaking down their brand. You're looking at their, their digital footprint, if you will. What are some of the, I guess, trends that you're seeing of attempts that brands have tried to get more visibility online, but
Mhm.
that just haven't succeeded? Maybe because they're outdated or misinformed.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of trend that you're seeing of people trying to do the right thing, but they're just not?
Yeah, yeah, let's start with a couple. Let me start this way. Let me start the other way. Let me just say what I tell people now, what I tell brands right now to focus on, and then I'll tell you what I'm usually seeing in that, because you're absolutely right. When somebody comes to us and says, "Hey, I want to work with you guys, I think you could bring a lot of strategy," that's where we start. We start with an assessment of the digital footprint. We start with an assessment and audit of their tech stack, because that's
Mm,
where that first party data lives. We really look at their operations as far as how they go from everything from lead acquisition to delivery of their widgets, or, whatever it is. So we do that assessment and audit. But if I had to tell brands right now what to focus on, and then I'll tell you what, I usually say,
mm,
because it makes me crazy sometimes. But if I was telling brands what is going to win, especially with AI the next 3 years, is to build recognizable entities, right?
mm,
And building recognizable entities, sounds, it is complicated, right? But leaning into what makes you different, right?
hmm,
Being that, working on your USP, what makes you unique, right?
hmm,
And that is something that is so important. That is something that I see wrong with a lot of companies that I work with, or come to me and say, "Sean,
mhm,
help us," or "Kuno, help us," is they can't tell us why they're different. They can't tell us
mm,
why we should use them over somebody else, besides the fact that they're super awesome and cool.
mhm,
But a lot of times you run into people that they can't tell you why they're unique and why they're different. And really, you need to build that those recognizable traits that do make you different. I mean,
hmm,
it goes back to that whole, what are you passionate about? Well, you originally got into that business to solve a problem, right? You didn't get in business to run a business. You
mhm,
got into business to do something. So you need to focus in on what makes you different, right? You need to focus in, once you do focus in on what makes you different, you need to lean into your own topical authority, right?
mm,
You need to be the experts at what makes you. You need to talk about it on a regular basis. You need to become your own topical authority. Don't look at DA, domain authority. Don't look at those other things. Look at your own. You need to own your topic, right? That means
mm,
publishing your own original insights. It's real easy to go to AI and say, "Hey, write something for me
mhm,
and use this tone and make it," but you can use AI as a tool to help you clean something up, or, I even use it as sometimes to provide an outline of some interesting things of that I could talk about a certain subject, right?
mm,
But at the end of the day, you need to publish your own original insights, right?
mhm,
Because that's what's going to earn you the mentions across trusted ecosystems. That's
mm,
what's going to help link building companies, right? I love those companies that hire link building companies, and they are a cookie cutter company that is nothing unique about them, that has never been a day on social media, that doesn't say anything. There's not negative posts, there's not good posts, there's just nothing. It's like they didn't even exist, and they say, "Okay,
yeah,
go get me 100,000 links," right?
yeah,
Those three things, if you work on building what makes you unique, recognizable. You build on your own topical authority and you publish your original insights. That's going to earn you mentions across across overall, right? There's
Yeah.
trusted ecosystems, not just link farms, but this is
Mm,
going to earn you mentions across trusted ecosystems. And then a link building company's got something to play with, something to build
mm,
fire off of, right? Because
mm,
then they can amplify that. They can help you spread that message and it becomes like fire, right? It
mm,
becomes more mentions across trusted ecosystems, opportunities on podcasts and vlogs and all sorts of things. And what that all leads to is creating strong human credibility signals. And that
mm,
is what AI picks up on. So I
mm.
guess going back to your original question of what do I see people focusing on that is
Yeah.
wrong? Man, they don't have anything that makes them separate. They just think that any marketing company will run them a paid ad campaign and get them a bunch of leads. They don't try to establish any topical authority. They hire you to make them sound authoritative, and
Mm,
it's just not genuine. They don't publish anything. They don't talk about anything. Their
mm,
COO or CEO doesn't have any type of influence over even their own household.
huh.
They're not earning nobody's talking about them. They're going and they're buying as seen on ABC5 or
Yeah.
those type of things. Boy, there's a lot of things that people are doing wrong. So I don't want to be
Mm,
negative. I want to focus on what's going to get you to win. So build what makes you different. Build on
yeah.
what makes you different. Point out what makes you different. Build your own topical authority. Don't worry about what ABC company is doing. Build your own topical authority and publish your own original insights. And then once
Mm,
you start the ball rolling that way, work with companies like link building companies, because you're going to be earning mentions and they're going to know how to take those mentions and develop a plan to not only enhance them, but amplify from there. That's
mm,
when AI systems start picking up on,
mm.
hey, listen, this company is somebody that we need to mention and we need to put in our overview section.
But Sean, if it I mean, if I like I want to go after these high volume, very competitive keywords because that's where all my competition is and I can see it on Ahrefs. I can see,
Yeah,
the traffic value, the potential traffic value. Sean, why can't I just, write content about about these keywords? Why do I
because
have
AI
to
is smart. The algorithms have changed, my friend. Google appease you, Google guys. They have built in AIs, and AI now is, I'm seeing so many people, a lot of clients go, hey, listen, we're trying to get back organic traffic from where we were at in 2023. We've lost like
Mm,
half our organic traffic. It's this
mhm,
zero click environment we live in. And the first thing I do when I do an SEO assessment, I look at their keywords from 2023, and it's just a litany of garbage keywords. I'm sure they're good keywords, but it has nothing to do with their product or what they sell.
mm.
And they are so mad that they lost that traffic. And I'm like, you
Dude,
probably weren't converting on that. I'll look in your database, but you probably weren't converting on that traffic. You're
yeah.
never going to get that traffic back because there's no contextual reason why AIO should mention you, or
Mm,
any of the LLM models should mention you. Like, there's no reason. Like, yeah, I know you had that keyword for a long time. Good for you. You fooled Google for a long time. But guess
yeah.
what? We live in the world of AI now where you're not going to get away with not being genuine, with not
Mm,
having topical authority built in what you do. And that's just
mm,
simply not what you do. So
mhm,
yeah, we
mhm.
have to have a lot of those conversations is like,
I bet.
yeah, yeah, that keyword's great, but that ain't you. That you're
Yeah.
just not you. Let's instead focus in on those longer tail keywords of, hey, maybe there's not a lot of volume, but you can build your own topical authority around that. Hey, there's contextual value in what you do and you can relate it to that. Then it becomes like, hey, listen, you can obtain these keywords. You can rank for these keywords. You can be listed in AI overview sections for these type of keywords. Stop focusing on what you had and what you fooled Google
Mm,
years ago, and let's do a reassessment, and let's be authentic and true, and start with a realistic conversation. So yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
unfortunately I hear that quite a bit.
It seems like you're really passionate about that, and knowing that you're educating as a side hustle, as you put
Side
it, which
hustle. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, we'll keep that between us. I don't
sure.
understand that's a side hustle, but I get it.
No, I don't either. So
You're taking the aspect of educating people of how these things work, and you're bringing that into the agency, which it seems to me like that's one of the best approaches to help people win today, is
yeah,
just like, let's look at the patents. Let's understand how these systems work, and then we can make a better, more informed decision and actually talk about your first party data, because through the call recordings of customer service or sales calls, people are asking about this weird
yeah.
specific niche part,
Yeah.
right?
And that's where
Yeah.
you can win. You win by being super weird. You win by
Yeah.
being niche, and you win by answering people's questions. Because guess what? That's what they're asking the AI models. That's what they're searching for. Those questions, and those are the questions that are making you unique. And those are the
Mhm.
things that you should be talking about. And that's a great way to lean in and build your own topical authority. Is have AI mine that data, have AI look at that and say, hey, listen, from our customers, the way that they're consuming our products, the way that
Mm.
they're going through our website, the way that we're having interactions with them, pull some recognizable data for me to use to build my own topical authority. What should I be talking about?
Mm.
And then blending in what makes you passionate, why you got into business. And guess what? It becomes a real easy way to move forward. And it gives you
Mm.
something to cook with.
Yeah. And the other thing, and you can maybe help me clarify my thoughts here, but we've heard of this funnel concept: top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel, and now we're kind of seeing, obviously we have that, I guess, vertical line, if we want to think of it that way, put against like a horizontal buyer's journey, let's say, beginning all the way to the purchase. But I think what you're getting at is not necessarily the vertical funnel. It's more of understanding that the point of transaction with your business, that person had things to do before they got there, and they have things to do after they make the purchase or the transaction. And your understanding of like how, your understanding of everything that happens around that transaction is where
Yeah.
the magic happens,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
it's kind of crazy because we're even McGraw-Hill and Cengage and textbook manufacturers are still pumping out those textbooks with the what you said, right? The tofu, mofu, bofu, or the old funnel, literally moved from discover, research, compare, and convert, right? That's usually the decision making process according to
Yeah.
McGraw-Hill, right? Some person that wrote that textbook, but that's it's not that way. The funnel has
Yeah.
completely changed. We're in an AI era funnel where you need visibility in the retrieval, the synthesis, the validation, and the trust reinforcement. That's the new way, right? That is
Mm.
the way that people think, the way that I move through decisions. It's not simply tofu, mofu, and
Mm.
bofu. It used to mean, hey, get traffic, but now I want you to think about it as more of be included in the conversation, right?
Mm.
It's a
Mhm.
huge difference when it comes to that thought point passport, that
Mm.
thought perspective of like, I need traffic, right? You need to
Yeah.
be included in the conversation. Because success metrics are now, instead of a traffic, you're looking at AI citations. How much are you being cited in AI models, right? Entity recognition. How recognizable are you? What's
Mm.
your share of answer? Like, is
Mm.
your answer what is being quoted by AI? Are you seeing a brand search lift? Like, I can't tell you how many times I talk to an organization about brand search lift, and their face just kind of goes blank, and they're like, "What?" And then,
Yeah.
of course, topical association. I mean, that goes back to, again, things like thought leadership and podcasts and LinkedIn and digital PR and semantic SEO all suddenly matter together,
Mm.
you know?
Mm.
So it's one of those, it's a definitely a mind shift. But,
Yeah.
again, it doesn't help that McGraw-Hill keeps making me have a textbook with a section of like, here's a traditional funnel and here's how people
Yeah.
move through the decision-making process. And like, oh my gosh,
My
people
gosh.
don't think that way anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in that funnel, where do we have an iPad, a phone,
Yeah.
a laptop, a networking group, or TikTok where, well, I heard this is the right way to do it,
Yeah.
it's not in that funnel. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's too restrictive.
Yeah,
Dang.
and TikTok, I mean, I talk to brands all the time and people are like, "Okay, well, we want a TikTok channel." And I'm sitting there and going, "You have nothing to say. Why is anybody going to listen to you? You like, okay, sure, if you want a TikTok channel, but you have nothing to say." But
Yeah.
it's the brands that are gonna dominate the AI era isn't going to be the people that are producing the most content. It's the people that are going to be producing the strongest content. Because
Mm,
that's what's going to win trust in those ecosystem. That's what's going to get you topical authority. And that's what's gonna make you consistent, right? Not the most,
mm,
but consistently good, right? Recognizable leadership, strong
mm.
PR, right? Consistently positioning yourself and your brand, expert knowledge and content and structured knowledge. And I mean, that's how you build a strong reputation.
Yeah.
So I want you to think of less, audience of the future funnels, less tofu, mofu, and bofu. I want you to think of it more as visibility, trust, confidence, conversion, and
Mm,
advocacy, right? That's how I would look at the funnel now. Like if I had
mm.
to look at a funnel, I wouldn't look at it as tofu, mofu, bofu, or whatever McGraw Hill was saying. I would look at it as
Yeah.
visibility, trust, confidence, conversion, and then advocacy, right?
Mm.
How do we build those advocates?
Man, if someone were at yeah, final question I suppose from me, if someone were to want to take the first step to developing their point of view, their perspective, and start to dominate a smaller segment, but their own entity, let's say, we're having niche relevance or you just want to own that entity, like as let's say the CEO or a founder or someone who's in charge of brand visibility, what are some of the steps that they can take to start down that path?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that you asked that because, I was having this discussion not too recent or not too long ago, but just
Mm.
recently. And, the biggest mistake I see people make is most people try to sound smart broadly, right?
Uh,
They try to be the experts of everything, and that's why I will tell you after 20 years of marriage, I'm just hanging on by a thread. Every day's a new learning opportunity. I don't know what I did right so far, but I know I've done something right. I am an
yeah.
expert at nothing with my wife. So, do most people try to sound smart broadly?
Mm,
Authority comes from being known specifically for something, right? Small, right?
mm,
So don't think of it as a niche. Think of it as becoming an expert at something, that you can be passionate about, that you can be known for specifically. Don't
mm,
think too broad, right?
hmm.
You know,
I love that.
you know, a focus like if you were an agency, focus on like HubSpot or Salesforce implementation, or
Mhm.
focus on ABM for programmatic ads for manufacturing, right? The
Mm,
narrower the expertise positioning, the faster you can build authority. So don't think broad, think niche, because you can actually become an authoritative figure in that niche quicker, right?
mm,
The other thing that's going to happen is paralysis by over analysis if you're too broad. Meaning like,
mhm,
hey, I'm going to start a podcast about every subject under the sun, right?
mm,
You can and knowing you doing this podcast, I'm sure that sometimes you are sitting there going, "Man, I could go this way, I could go that way," and just think about it that way too. If you were going to host a podcast or a TV show, what would you talk about? Uh,
mm,
you know
hmm,
don't think broad, think niche, because narrower you think, the quicker it's going to be to position yourself as an expert. And it's also going to mean the more consistent you can be with coming up with ideas and coming up with content that actually means a damn. If you think
Mm.
too broad, it's hard to come up with content that is impactful. But if
Yeah.
you focus in on a niche subject and you say, "Hey, I'm going to be really thoughtful about this and focus in on that," ideas will flow quicker. You'll be more consistent, and it'll be a quicker road to becoming a topical authority on it. So,
Mm.
I if I had to suggest your steps, it would be to clarify your point of view. Right? You have to have an opinion on something and clarify
Mm.
your point of view. You know, publish consistently in public, right? Authority is repetition and visibility. I'd start with
Mm.
like LinkedIn posts, short videos, podcast appearances,
Mhm.
commentary, and then, sharing strategy, focusing on LinkedIn if you're B2B.
Mhm.
Third step I'd say is create referenceable content, meaning that, hey,
Mm.
frameworks, lists, benchmarks,
Mm.
predictions, playbooks, things like that. And then look for off platform validation. That's the biggest step I think people overlook. Authority compounds when other people trust and validate you, right?
Mm.
So look
Mhm.
for those podcasts, look for the webinars, reach out to those people and say, "Hey, this is my take on this subject. Love to share my take with you."
Hmm.
It could take one good LinkedIn post to really get people talking about you. And then once you have all of that together, you can align what your digital infrastructure is going to look like, right?
Mm.
It's going to lead you to, okay, I need a website. I need a better LinkedIn page. I need this, I need that. It's going to help create that digital infrastructure for you and kind of point you of where you need to go. So those are the 5 steps I would tell somebody.
Man, that is super impactful, and the first and hardest one is clarify point of view,
Yeah, it
I
really
think.
is, isn't it?
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
is. So, like, if you don't have that, if you don't have a unique perspective, and I think where, this is top of mind for me, I'm reading a book called The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, and it's all about, like, letting other people have their own opinion of you.
Yeah.
And I think this is what I've heard from founders or, people who are looking to develop their brand and get visibility and growth and traction is they're like, "Well, I don't want to turn people off. I don't want to close
Yeah.
people out. If I niche down too far, then, where's my market? I'm not going to have enough people to talk to. I'm going to, be
Yeah.
outcast
I
or
mean,
whatever."
yeah.
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 But it
Yeah.
seems like it's the exact opposite.
It's the exact opposite because I'd say to you then is if you don't niche down, you're not gonna be passionate about it, and that's what
Yeah.
people pick up on. People pick up
Mm.
on passion. They don't wanna listen to
Mhm.
people that aren't passionate about what they're talking about. Nobody wants to listen to that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear me talk about pickleball. Just not passionate about pickleball. It's grown people standing on a ping pong table. I'm sorry, right? So who's going to want to jump onto this
Yeah.
podcast and hear me talk about pickleball? Nobody,
Yeah.
'cause I just
Yeah.
ain't passionate about it, my friend. But yeah, I mean, you could niche down and say, listen, I'm going to be the pickleball expert podcaster. And hey, and if you're passionate about it, it's going to come out. And that's what people want to listen about. I wouldn't
Yeah.
be worried about people having different points of view and negative to yours, because that's what's going to drive them. That's what's going to build your even faster is when
Yeah.
people differ with your points of view and can have conversations with you and say, "Hey, this is what I think," as opposed
Mm.
to what you think. And people are going to pick up on like, "Oh, they said that, but he says this, but she said that." And that's what really keys that engagement. Look at the loudest people on TikTok and Facebook. They're the
Mm.
people that differ from the status quo. Those are the
Yeah.
people that are getting the clicks. Those are the people that are getting on these HGTV specials where they're all of a sudden the guest designer. So
Yeah, right?
yeah. So
Anything where you can post
I'm
and
watching those rock the blocks and battle of the
Oh, yeah.
beaches right now. So yeah. So I'm like, who is this person? Oh, they said this about that. I'm like, and this makes them
Mm.
qualified to build a house. How?
It
I
doesn't.
don't know, but
Absolutely not.
HGTV's got it.
Anything you can
Absolutely.
post that will coin a Michael Jackson eating popcorn meme
Yeah.
is the way to go, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what you want. That's when you know you hit it big when you see one of those
Yeah.
on one on your Reddit thread or in your comments
Yes.
of your podcast. Yes,
Yeah.
I got the Michael Jackson eating popcorn.
Shaun, where can we find out more about you, what you're doing, and about Kuno Creative?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, LinkedIn, go ahead and look up Shaun Kanary, and I spell my name right, Shaun. Seen is not right, people. Go ahead and follow me on LinkedIn. I'll share my thoughts. But also kunocreative.com. That's where a majority of my knowledge is on, unfortunately, on our YouTube channel as well as our blogs. I share a lot of my takes on these type of topics. So please go to our website and engage with our YouTube channel as well as our blog. And hey, post some memes of Michael Jackson eating some popcorn from you, would you?
Yes. You know what? I think if you posted like it's Shaun, not seen, like
Is
I'm
Shaun
pretty
not
sure
seen?
you
There
would
you go. I'm
I'm
gonna
pretty
that's
sure
like
you would
gonna
get a
be.
meme.
I'm gonna build some authoritative, and my take's gonna be that seen is not Shaun. That's
Yeah,
niche.
yeah.
That's neat.
That's your entity cluster. Oh
That's it.
my.
That's it.
We didn't even get into YouTube, but that'll be for
Yeah.
another
Maybe for another
conversation.
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Stay tuned for another podcast with me talking about YouTube. There you
Like and
go.
subscribe.
I just booked my return ticket.
Yeah,
Yes.
there we go. There we
There you
go.
go.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Hell
There
yeah.
you go.
Shaun, thank you so much for being here. It was
Hey,
an
thank you
absolute
so much
pleasure.
for having me here. Appreciate it.
You got it. You got it, bro. Cheers.